Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast had clearly gained the approval of the Violet Mosquito King, as evidenced by the latter's appearance to personally accept it into the group. This was precisely Wang Lin's goal. As the Violet Mosquito King let out a screech, Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast also emitted a low hiss, as though in submission. Under Wang Lin's control, it slowly flew forward, closing the distance between itself and the Violet Mosquito Beast. The moment the Violet Mosquito King appeared, Wang Lin could clearly sense an aura emanating from it, indicating that it was at the mid-shattered nirvana stage. This Mosquito King was not overwhelmingly powerful. The mountains where its clan resided were its usual domain, and it rarely showed itself, undergoing a slow transformation and struggle. However, Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast had recently evolved into a golden form, making it nearly impossible for the Violet Mosquito King to detect the true aura of Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast. As Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast moved forward, it did not attract the attention of the surrounding mosquito beasts. Even the two white mosquito beasts did not notice it, only coldly staring at Wang Lin's beast. In just 3 breaths, Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast covered the short distance and was now less than 30 feet from the Violet Mosquito King. A hint of doubt flashed in the Violet Mosquito King's eyes as it let out another low hiss. Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast responded in kind, but in its hiss, its body suddenly accelerated, crossing the remaining distance in a single moment. In the instant it did, the surrounding mosquito beasts immediately let out frantic roars. The two white mosquito beasts' eyes glowed with murderous intent as they charged, and even the Violet Mosquito King's aura turned cold and menacing. However, in the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast's essence spirit, hidden within the rule of stars, spun rapidly. In a booming flash, it shot into the air, emitting a blinding light that enveloped heaven and earth. Wang Lin's essence spirit instantly transformed. His appearance immediately caused a stir among all the surrounding mosquito beasts. Sharp hissing sounds filled the air as the mosquito beast charged towards him in a frenzy. Yet none of this distracted Wang Lin. Despite the perilous nature of his mission, his analysis showed an 80% chance of success. Everything hinged on speed. As soon as Wang Lin's essence spirit took form, he took a step forward, raising his right hand to strike out with a booming wave. Instantly, the power of heaven and earth condensed into a violent gust of wind, sweeping the two white mosquito beasts next to the Violet Mosquito King, hurling them away with a loud crash. Without pause, Wang Lin's Mosquito Beast closed the distance to the retreating Violet Mosquito King. His eyes gleamed with cold light as his left hand shot forward, slapping the air. The power of heaven and earth gathered rapidly. At the same time, his right hand raised and tapped his left hand's back with a quick motion. As his finger descended, the earth trembled, and the wind raged like a storm. Boundless primordial energy mixed with celestial power surged into the strike, flooding into his left hand as the first rule of stars imprint appeared, shifting to his left index finger and flickering brightly. The Violet Mosquito King immediately sensed an overwhelming life and death crisis, so strong that it let out a frantic hiss and began retreating wildly. Wang Lin did not stop. As he advanced, he traced an arc with his right hand and struck again, sending out the second finger. This time, the sky seemed filled with the sound of countless thunderclaps, and the ground itself trembled. A second rule of stars imprint appeared on his left hand and moved to his middle finger, rapidly flashing. As he continued forward, Wang Lin's right hand swept once more, and a third finger descended. This time, the earth cracked, and the ground shook as a massive vortex formed in the sky, swirling with boundless energy, all funneled into his left hand with a violent strike. The third rule of stars imprint appeared on his left ring finger. This all happened in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin had taken 3 steps in midair, while the Violet Mosquito King had retreated several dozen feet, its entire body glowing purple, its whiskers and hair bending, about to straighten in preparation for a counterattack. The surrounding mosquito beasts were charging at full force, trying desperately to stop this from happening, their fury boiling over as though they wanted to tear Wang Lin apart. Further away, as the mosquito beasts roared, the distortion of heaven and earth was visible, suggesting that many more mosquito beasts were rushing to join the fray. Wang Lin's expression was cold as he took a 4th step. Raising his right hand towards the sky, he suddenly grasped the air, and with a booming sound, the swirling vortex seemed to be pulled into his hand, rapidly shrinking. With his grasp, the energy transformed into the 4th strike, sending a surge into his left hand. The 4th rule of stars imprint appeared, completing the transformation. At this moment, Wang Lin's left hand, with 4 fingers out of 5, all contained the marks of the rules. This hand seemed to have become the hand of rules. As the fourth finger fell, a thunderous roar erupted, echoing across the land, and directly stamped onto the body of the Violet Mosquito King. All of this happened slowly, yet in reality, it was only 3 breaths long. As the handprint landed on the Violet Mosquito King, it seemed that even the winds of the Wind Realm paused for a moment. The booming sounds rose up, and from within the body of the Violet Mosquito Beast, the sounds of bangs rang out. Its huge mandibles cracked open, and on its brow, a distinct handprint was undergoing a violent collapse. A large amount of blood spurted out from the handprint, causing the Violet Mosquito King to emit a mournful screech. As it retreated, vast purple mist immediately erupted from its body, but then rapidly retracted back inside. This cycle repeated 3 times in a short period. Each time the purple mist expanded and contracted, the handprint on its brow became increasingly blurry. It was as though the Violet Mosquito Beast was rapidly healing in this way. Meanwhile, as it retreated, every hair on its body stood upright, and the rules of heaven and earth seemed to permeate its form, causing a sign similar to that of a shattered Nirvana cultivator preparing to unleash a divine ability. At this moment, the 2 white mosquito beasts that Wang Lin had summoned roared wildly as they charged forward. Surrounding them were hundreds of blue mosquito beasts, exuding an aura similar to the pure Nirvana stage, attacking recklessly. On the outer edges, thousands of crimson mosquito beasts swarmed madly around, their hairs standing on end, eyes locked on Wang Lin, roaring in an earth-shattering frenzy. Further away, the ripples of heaven and earth twisted even more, and faintly, a vast red ocean seemed to be rapidly spreading toward them. In that instant, the blue light on Wang Lin's mosquito beast suddenly flickered and enveloped the surroundings. But within the next breath, the blue light collapsed with a boom, and a burst of golden light emanated from within, becoming the only dazzling light for tens of thousands of miles. The mosquito beast in the golden light seemed like a true king, raising its head to release a roar that sounded like rolling thunder. It was the roar of a king, the roar of the Mosquito King. At the moment this golden light appeared, the surrounding crimson mosquito beasts shuddered and immediately halted their assault. Awe appeared in their eyes, and even terror as they looked toward the golden light. The hundreds of blue mosquito beasts also froze in their tracks the moment the golden light emerged. Their eyes showed struggle, but they dared not move forward. Even the 2 white mosquito beasts stopped mid-charge, circling in the air, their screeches weakened considerably. The Violet Mosquito King, which was retreating to heal, was momentarily stunned. But soon, its eyes revealed an overwhelming killing intent. As Wang Lin's mosquito beast howled, the Violet Mosquito King also let out a violent screech. With the release of Wang Lin's mosquito beast's Mosquito King's aura, the situation underwent a dramatic change. This was no longer a battle between Wang Lin as a cultivator and the Violet Mosquito King, but rather a clash and devouring fight between 2 Mosquito Kings. In the Battle of Mosquito Kings, no mosquito beast could participate, nor dare they. In Wang Lin's plan, what was happening now was a crucial part of it. After releasing the golden light and the royal roar, Wang Lin's mosquito beast, like a golden lightning bolt, charged toward the severely injured Violet Mosquito King. At the same time, Wang Lin's divine sense rapidly dissipated and transformed into the Rule Star, landing on the mosquito beast. However, just as it landed, Wang Lin performed the final move of the palace ceiling, the body immobilization art. His divine sense raised its right hand and suddenly pointed at the Violet Mosquito King. With this point, the heavens roared. There was no primordial power, but suddenly, endless immortal energy from the Wind Realm gathered explosively. Summoning the energy of the immortal realm, it transformed into the peak of the body immobilization art. As the finger landed, the Violet Mosquito King froze suddenly, its movement sealed. At the moment it stopped, Wang Lin's mosquito beast immediately closed in, its gigantic mandibles, which were emitting golden light, plunged into the Violet Mosquito King's body with a booming sound and began to suck furiously. The Violet Mosquito King's body trembled, quickly withering, and eventually completely disintegrated. Even its body turned into essence, absorbed by Wang Lin's mosquito beast. A joyful screech echoed from Wang Lin's mosquito beast, shaking the heavens. At the same time, a terrifying pressure spread out, enveloping the surroundings. The birth of a new Mosquito King. From behind a mountain, Song Luohai was deeply shaken. The earlier scenes had completely opened his eyes, especially when Wang Lin's divine sense appeared. Song Luohai immediately recognized it. This was not the Mosquito King's divine ability, but a true divine sense. The Mosquito King actually has a cultivator's divine sense. Song Luohai's eyes flashed as he stared at the Mosquito King, his heart racing. The crimson mosquito beasts had been the first to submit. At this moment, each one of them bore an expression filled with awe, their high-pitched cries echoing with acknowledgement. As for the several hundred blue mosquito beasts, their eyes flickered with hesitation. Yet under the immense pressure radiating from the Mosquito King, they soon yielded and began circling obediently around. The most difficult, however, were the two pale mosquito beasts. They locked their cold, unwavering gazes onto Wang Lin's Mosquito King. No matter how intense the king's pressure grew, their expressions remained grim and defiant. A fierce gleam lit up in Wang Lin's mosquito beast's eyes as it let out a low growl. Instantly, all the surrounding mosquito beasts turned their focus toward the two pale mosquito beasts, their eyes blazing with hostility. A mournful wail rang out from the two pale mosquito beasts. One of them, the very one that had previously fought Wang Lin's beast, trembled. A strange red glow gradually appeared in its eyes, and in the blink of an eye, a destructive aura erupted from within. With a thunderous boom, its body suddenly exploded. Blood mist burst forth, scattering in every direction. And in that same moment, the second pale mosquito beast made the same choice, self-destruction. Another thunderous blast, and it was reduced to blood and flesh, flung across the surroundings. They would rather die than submit. These two pale mosquito beasts were equivalent to shattered nirvana cultivators. Their self-destruction unleashed a wild shockwave that swept violently in all directions. At that exact instant, Luohai, who had been hiding behind a rocky outcrop, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Now's the time. His greed had already drowned out his reason, especially after witnessing with his own eyes that the newly born Mosquito King harbored a cultivator's essence spirit. In his mind, this wasn't a case of someone separating their essence spirit to merge with the beast. Instead, it was clearly a cultivator who had lost their physical body in the Wind Realm and, through some unknown method, had fused entirely with the Mosquito King, creating a truly unique entity. He had never seen such a thing in his life. To him, the Mosquito King was now effectively a cultivator. Directly controlling the Mosquito King would be near impossible, but controlling the cultivator's essence spirit within it might not be. He couldn't let this opportunity slip away. But with hundreds of blue mosquito beasts, thousands of crimson ones, and those two pale mosquito beasts, his desire had been suppressed. Now, however, with the two pale mosquito beasts self-destructing and the resulting shockwave forcing back the others, this was the perfect opening. His heart surged with anticipation. This essence spirit isn't strong at best. It's at the early shattered nirvana stage. If I take control of it, I'll control the Mosquito King. Gritting his teeth, a pounding sound echoed from Luohai's body. In an instant, he burst through the rocks like a thunderbolt, charging straight toward Wang Lin's Mosquito King amid the shockwave left by the pale mosquito beast's demise. His timing was impeccable, clearly a product of greed overwhelming reason, but also meticulous planning and calculation. The moment he dashed out, his hands rapidly formed seals, releasing a frenzy of shattered nirvana aura. Illusory images of the sun and moon swirled around his hands. He struck with his strongest divine ability. As a cultivator of the silent soul path, his sect's signature arts targeted the soul and essence spirit. They did not harm the body, but instead directly assaulted the mind and spirit. Just as his divine ability spread, Luohai let out a thunderous roar. Within it, a soul-shaking power pulsed, aimed straight at the essence spirit, causing disorientation and brief paralysis. Everything had gone perfectly, except he was up against Wang Lin. Wang Lin had long since sensed Luohai's presence but had chosen to ignore it. Now, at the moment of the pale mosquito beast's destruction, as Luohai emerged, the rule star harboring Wang Lin's essence spirit flared to life. The instant Luohai charged forth, Wang Lin's mosquito beast retreated. Within the rippling shockwave, Luohai streaked forward like a rainbow, rapidly closing in, but just then, the rule star spun. As his divine power neared, Wang Lin's essence spirit materialized, a mocking smile on his face. He raised his right hand and swept it forward. With a thunderous roar, a violent wind transformed into a swirling storm and surged towards Luohai. The moment it collided with his divine ability, the clash erupted with a deafening boom. Luohai's face went pale instantly. Blood spewed from his mouth as he was thrown back several meters, his eyes filled with horror. The blast wasn't overly powerful, but it carried a profound Tao intent and a surge of laws that disrupted his mind, nearly shattering his mental state entirely. What happened next utterly shattered his soul. Wang Lin's essence spirit lifted a hand and pointed forward. At the same moment, his mosquito beast let out a piercing roar. Suddenly, every mosquito beast nearby charged forth in a frenzy. In the blink of an eye, they had completely surrounded Song Luohai from every direction, sealing him inside the swarm. Thousands of red mosquito beasts and hundreds of blue mosquito beasts displayed their collective power, and in that moment, even Wang Lin was witnessing it in person for the first time. The continuous booming sounds echoed from the swarm of mosquito beasts, accompanied by the terrified low growls of Song Luohai. I, Song, acknowledge my mistake. Fellow Taoist, show mercy, show mercy. I am a senior elder of the Silent Soul Path. Please spare me, and I will repay you with great gratitude in the future. His voice was filled with urgency and pleading. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as his divine sense extended. The Mosquito King beneath him let out a screech once again, and the mosquito beast swarm became even more frenzied in their attack. At this very moment, within the 8th Order star domain, where the Wuji sect was located, 3 immense cultivation stars existed. The grand event was taking place on the 2nd of these stars, and it had already started, having lasted for several days. The entire Wuji sect was bustling with activity, as the once-in-a-thousand-years branch sect competition took place. Countless people had filled the star, occupying the entire cultivation star in dense clusters. Many powerful cultivators and sect members were invited to witness the event, making the Wuji sect crowded with voices. Even some wandering cultivators had gathered to observe the grand competition. A massive platform, occupying almost half of the cultivation star, was the battlefield for the branch sect competition. Surrounding this platform were countless steps leading up, which served as seats, all of them now occupied by cultivators. In the 4 directions, north, south, east, and west, the position of the Origin Reunion sect was located at a small area on the northern edge. Compared to other sects, which had hundreds of people, the Origin Reunion sect had fewer than 10 people, making it appear very desolate. Li Qianmei silently sat there. In a few days, after the competition for the 4th Order sects ended, the 5th Order branch sects would take their turn. The rest of the Origin Reunion sect members sat nearby, also filled with a sense of melancholy, their eyes showing confusion and sorrow. It seemed as though their sect's fate was beyond change. I'm feeling unwell. I'll go back first. Li Qianmei stood and whispered softly, preparing to leave for the residence granted by the main sect, even though it was more secluded and desolate. Isn't this the famed beauty, secretly known as the first cauldron of the 5th Order star domain, Miss LV? Indeed impressive. No wonder this time, I had to spend quite a few primordial crystals to have you join the Celestial Melody sect once the Origin Reunion sect dissolves. A frivolous voice came from not far away. Then, a middle-aged man in a blue robe, with a gentle smile, slowly walked out from the crowd. Upon his appearance, the surrounding people recognized him and immediately changed their expressions, hastily clearing a path, making the area where the Origin Reunion sect was situated empty, becoming all the more eye-catching. The members of the Origin Reunion sect, under the gaze of many, appeared pale and silent. Sun Yin, in particular, bit her lips so hard that she nearly drew blood. This middle-aged man was not alone. 2 white-haired elders with cold expressions and sharp, electric gazes followed him. Anyone who met their gaze couldn't help but feel a shiver run down their spine. The Celestial Melody sect of the 6th Order star domain. Judging by this man's appearance, he must be the eldest disciple of their sect, Qianmei. The Celestial Melody sect has ranked first in the 6th Order star domain for several consecutive years, and they are highly valued by the main sect. It's rumored that one of the 3 reserved spots for the grand event in the 8th Order star domain will be filled by someone from this sect, especially Qianmei. It's said that his cultivation technique is extremely sinister, requiring many cauldrons. Even those with high cultivation who were chosen by him seem to have no chance of escape. There are too many rumors about this Qianmei. I even heard that he has some bloodline connection with Elder LV of our Wuji sect. With Elder LV's cultivation reaching the perfect shattered nirvana stage, no wonder Qianmei is so domineering. Li Qianmei paused, her beautiful eyes flashing with a cold light. She turned to face the approaching man in the blue robe. This man was quite handsome, and there was an undeniable aura of power around him. The Origin Reunion sect is not dissolved, and it won't be dissolved. Li Qianmei spoke calmly, and after saying that, she turned to leave. Qianmei smiled slightly and softly said, "Fellow Taoist LV, do not take offense. The term cauldron was something I heard from others, and if it seemed frivolous, I hope you will not mind. But I am also speaking with good intentions. If the Origin Reunion sect dissolves, at least you, Miss LV, will have a good place to go, wouldn't you? Don't say that the Origin Reunion sect won't dissolve. Even if it does, my Violet Dao sect will take all its members. A cold voice came from another direction. Gradually, a man in purple robes walked over. After coldly glancing at LV Yingjie, he turned to LV Yinfei, cupped his hands, and politely said, I am Lu Yunsong. It's an honor to meet you, fellow Daoist LV. LV Yinfei froze for a moment. Fellow Daoist LV, do not overthink it. Although I have only met your brother once, that night of discussing Dao is unforgettable for life. As for the Origin Reunion sect, if he returns, not only will it not dissolve, but even the top spot in the branch sect competition may not be impossible, Li Yunsong said with a hint of reminiscence and sentiment in his tone. It turns out fellow Daoist Lu has also set his sights on the Origin Reunion sect, and once again seems intent on competing with me. But I wonder, who is this brother Li you speak of? Could it be me you're referring to? Lu Yingjie gave a slight smile, showing no sign of joy or anger. Even his words seemed as casual as a gentle breeze. Shut up. Who do you think you are to speak of brother Lu? If he were here, killing you would be as easy as squashing an ant. Lu Yunsong frowned, scolding without mercy. Although the challenge ultimately failed, it was a disgrace for the Celestial Melody sect. This man's victory over them had made the Violet Dao sect famous, and with that, the name Lu Yunsong had become well known across the entire Sea of Clouds. Moreover, at the upcoming competition in the Wuji sect, Lu Yunsong came with great momentum, much stronger than 1,000 years ago. It was likely that he would challenge the Celestial Melody sect again. If a fifth-tier sect were to challenge them twice in a row, the Celestial Melody sect would lose all face. A victory would be expected, but if they showed any weakness, even a win would still bring them ridicule in the shadows. Lu Yunsong, everyone can talk big, but I wonder how your supposed brother Lu will be able to kill me like an ant. Lu Yingjie's expression gradually calmed. He was a man of few emotions, keeping his anger hidden beneath a calm exterior, quickly suppressing his previous fury without a sound. Lu Yunsong's eyes flashed with cold light as he stared at Lu Yingjie. He understood this man's temperament, and the more he looked, the more he grew to despise him. If he comes, you'll have the chance to know for yourself. Lu Yunsong's voice was icy. His primary reason for coming to the Wuji sect, apart from the branch sect competition, was to see Wang Lin once again. Thus, he paid close attention to the Origin Reunion sect. But just as Lu Yunsong finished speaking, an eerie, odd voice, as if whistling through gritted teeth, suddenly echoed around them. I, too, am looking forward to meeting this Lu person you speak of, Lu Yunsong. The moment the voice sounded, Lu Yunsong's expression changed, and so did the others from the Origin Reunion sect, including Lu Yinfei. Even though the voice seemed weak, it sent a tremor through everyone's essence spirits, causing violent fluctuations in their minds. Those with insufficient cultivation immediately turned pale, their essence spirits in disarray, suffering injury from the oppressive aura of the voice. Only Lu Yingjie's expression remained unchanged, though a flicker of surprise passed through his eyes. He turned around and looked into the void, respectfully clasping his hands together and saying, Greetings, Elder Zhao. Behind Lu Yingjie, the air distorted, waves rippling as a figure slowly emerged. It was a middle-aged man, his most striking features being his hooked nose, thin lips, and cold, piercing gaze that made him seem particularly harsh. Lu Yunsong's face changed, and after a long pause, he clasped his hands and solemnly said, I greet Elder Zhao from the 7th grade Xun'er sect. He explicitly pointed out the identity of the sharp-featured middle-aged man, a subtle reminder to Lu Yinfei and the others. Lu Yinfei's face darkened slightly, and the other members of the Origin Reunion sect immediately showed their respect. The appearance of this man seemed to chill the atmosphere, and the onlookers quickly began to back away, some even leaving altogether to avoid the growing tension. What was initially a matter concerning the Origin Reunion sect seemed to be slowly transforming into an issue involving the Violet Dao sect, Celestial Melody sect, and Xun'er sect. The focus of their confrontation had shifted to the mysterious Lu person Lu Yunsong had mentioned. The middle-aged Zhao man walked over to Lu Yingjie and gave him a slight nod, to which Lu Yingjie responded with even greater respect. Since everyone is talking about this Lu person, you might as well accept it. I too wish to see if this mysterious Lu is real or not, the middle-aged Zhao man said, his voice as soft and sinister as ever. Lu Yingjie smiled, nodding in agreement. If that's the case, I will certainly see what this mysterious Lu person is capable of. But if he turns out to be non-existent, or if he doesn't match what fellow Daoist Lu has said, then what should we do? I ask for Elder Zhao's guidance. Should that happen, I will naturally bear witness to it. This matter could be serious or trivial, It's not something to be taken lightly or based on empty words, the Zhao man replied, his gaze fixed on Lu Yunsong, his tone sinister. Lu Yunsong's expression darkened, and after a long pause, he remained silent. Although the Zhao man wasn't the strongest of the 7th-grade Xun'er sect, he was the external affairs elder and had close ties with the celestial melody sect. If he intervened, his words could carry a lot of weight. Lu Yinfei bit her lip, sensing the difficulty Lu Yunsong was facing. She spoke softly, "This matter is unrelated to fellow Taoist Lu. It concerns the Origin Reunion sect itself. If..." Before Lu Yinfei could finish speaking, the middle-aged man with the surname Zhao's eyes flashed with cold light. He shot a chilling glance at Lu Yinfei, which felt almost tangible, like two sword beams erupting, directly striking into Lu Yinfei's eyes. Lu Yinfei only felt her body tremble, her primordial spirit roaring as she involuntarily staggered back several feet. Her face turned pale, and she spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling instantly weakened. "You have no right to speak here, little brat." The surroundings immediately fell silent. The members of the Origin Reunion sect all displayed expressions of anger but dared not utter a single word. They had no choice but to swallow this humiliation, their hearts filled with bitterness, pervading their entire beings. If Brother Lu hadn't come, or if it wasn't as simple as fellow Taoist Lu claimed, killing Luohai like an ant, then naturally, Lu Yunsong, would offer Elder Zhao an explanation. After a brief silence, Lu Yunsong stared at Zhao Long and said in a deep voice. Zhao Long's face twisted into a grim smile, one that was highly grating. He stopped speaking, turned, and began to leave. Luohai, who stood beside him, gave Lu Yinfei an apologetic smile but didn't even glance at Lu Yunsong as he followed Zhao Long, preparing to leave. The place they stood was but a tiny speck compared to the massive platform and crowd surrounding the large competition. Just then, a white rainbow streaked across the sky, roaring toward them. The white streak cut through the air with thunderous crashing sounds, drawing the attention of every cultivator in the vicinity of the competition platform on the cultivation star. A breath of shattered nirvana energy suddenly emanated from the white glow, enveloping the surroundings. Immediately, several figures from the Wuji sect flashed out to greet the newcomer. As the white light neared, its speed slowed, and the cultivators, whose attention had already been drawn to it, clearly saw the figure of a woman inside. More specifically, they saw her extremely unique blue hair, a trait possessed by only one person in the entire sea of clouds. Li Qianmei, 9th grade Breaking Sky sect. A sudden wave of astonished voices erupted in the air. At that moment, nearly all of the over 100,000 cultivators present immediately recognized the identity of the blue-haired woman. It's actually Li Qianmei from the Breaking Sky sect. Who would have thought that she would attend the Wuji sect's branch competition this time? I heard she's been fighting in the Beast Tide War with the Demon sect. How could she possibly have left the battlefield and come here? It's said that no one participating in the Beast Tide War is allowed to leave. How did Li Qianmei get permission from the Demon sect to come to Wuji sect? The moment Li Qianmei appeared, a wave of discussion spread, even causing the battle between the two 4th-grade sects on the platform to lose the crowd's attention. Luohai also saw the figure of Li Qianmei high in the sky. A gleam of fanaticism and joy flashed in his eyes. He knew Li Qianmei, and years ago, she had asked him 3 questions. Zhao Long, who stood beside Luohai, also grew solemn. He was highly respectful toward Li Qianmei from the 9th grade Breaking Sky sect. Her cultivation and sect were far beyond anything he could compare to. The person in charge of the Wuji sect's branch competition ceremony today was an elder named Feng Hai. Alongside him were 6 other Wuji sect elders. Upon sensing Li Qianmei's arrival, the 4 of them immediately flew out, followed by more than 10 disciples of Wuji sect. Further behind them were several hundred disciples responsible for this competition, all flying out to greet her. The group moved majestically to welcome Li Qianmei's arrival. Fellow Taoist Li, it is truly an honor for our Wuji sect to have you here. I, Feng Hai, greet you. Feng Hai laughed heartily, his expression warm, as he cupped his hands in salute. The 6 elders behind him also smiled and cupped their hands, while the disciples showed great respect. Many of them looked at Li Qianmei with admiration and awe. Beyond these people, in the distance, several more white rainbows streaked through the sky, heralding the arrival of other core figures of Wuji sect, demonstrating just how much importance they placed on Li Qianmei. Fellow Taoist Li, I'm sure you've just returned from the Beast Tide battlefield. Please allow me to escort you to our Wuji sect's mountain gate to rest. The sect master has likely already heard of your arrival. It is a great honor for our Wuji sect, Feng Hai continued, his voice echoing with warmth. Although she was the center of everyone's attention, Li Qianmei remained calm. She didn't recklessly send out her divine sense to search for the others. Instead, her gaze swept over the dense crowd below, finally landing on Feng Hai. She spoke softly, "The matter of resting can wait, fellow Taoist Feng. May I ask if the Origin Reunion sect, from the 5th grade star domain, has arrived for this competition?" Origin Reunion sect? Feng Hai was taken aback. A disciple quickly flew over to his side and whispered something in his ear. "They have indeed arrived," Feng Hai replied with a smile, though his heart was filled with confusion. He wondered if this small Origin Reunion sect had some connection to Li Qianmei. Li Qianmei suppressed her emotions and asked urgently, "Where are they?" Feng Hai's confusion deepened, but he didn't show it on his face. He turned to the young disciple who had spoken to him earlier. The disciple quickly answered respectfully, "They are located at the northern edge of the platform." As soon as she spoke, Li Qianmei had already spread her divine sense, which instantly covered the entire northern region. In an instant, she found the location of the people from the Origin Reunion sect, which seemed insignificant compared to the surrounding platform. However, after locating the Origin Reunion sect, Li Qianmei's body shot forward like lightning, heading straight there. As they moved, the disciples of the Wuji sect behind them also began to advance. Hundreds of them turned into long rainbows, speeding forward, immediately drawing the attention of all the cultivators on the platform. Various speculations quickly spread, and some impatient individuals even flew out, heading directly toward the north. With someone leading the way, more cultivators followed suit. Suddenly, the branch sect competition began to show signs of chaos. The 2 4th-order star domain cultivators who had been fighting to the death paused, exchanging bitter smiles as they looked toward the north. Farther away, the dozen or so long rainbows streaked toward them, one of which was led by a red-haired elder emitting the aura of the shattered Nirvana stage. Behind him were more than 10 other elders, all with formidable cultivation. As they approached, the red-haired elder immediately noticed the chaos among the tens of thousands of cultivators surrounding the platform. His brow furrowed, and he shouted, "No flight." The moment the words left his mouth, they transformed into a thunderous roar, resonating through the sky. Some cultivators who had just taken off trembled, immediately plummeting back to the ground. The sound spread, shaking the heavens and forming waves of sound that pushed outward, instantly calming the chaos and bringing silence to the area. Furrowing his brow, the red-haired elder quickly spotted Li Qianmei's figure. With a flicker, he and the other elders rushed toward her. Li Qianmei continued her rapid flight, undeterred by the attention from Wuji sect and the surrounding cultivators, heading straight for the northern location of the Origin Reunion sect. Within moments, she arrived, landing on the ground and sweeping her gaze forward. In the eyes of Li, a more obvious look of joy appeared. Earlier, he had seen Li Qianmei's arrival, but the distance was too far, and he dared not spread his divine sense. Thus, he hadn't heard her mention the Origin Reunion sect. Now, he took a deep breath, cupped his hands in greeting, and smiled warmly. As Li Qianmei approached, he called out, "Miss Li, it's been 100 years. Do you still remember LV?" Beside him, Zhao Long of the 7th Order Xun'er sect also looked respectful, cupping his hands and smiling. "I see that Miss Li knows Xun'er. I am Zhao Long of the 7th Order Xun'er sect. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Li." Their words immediately caused a stir among those nearby. It was clear that no one had expected that the person who had caused Li Qianmei to rush to Wuji sect was actually Li. Li is rumored to be a playboy. Who would have thought that even Li Qianmei of the Breaking Heaven sect knows him, and that she came to Wuji sect because of him? If this is true, the Celestial Melody sect will already have a big reputation before the competition even begins. Who would have guessed? I wonder what it is about Li that earned Li Qianmei's favor. It's truly puzzling. Even the people from Wuji sect who had come with Li Qianmei were casting curious glances at Li. Only Feng Hai and a few others furrowed their brows. They had heard Li Qianmei asking about the Origin Reunion sect, but now with Li's sudden appearance, they were even more confused. Under the scrutiny of everyone's gaze, Li smiled even more broadly and took a few steps forward, preparing to catch up with Li Qianmei. The moment Li Qianmei heard the words LV from him, her eyes locked onto him. Her brows furrowed slightly, and as Li approached, she gave him a cold glance as she passed by. She had been fighting beasts at the edge of a rift for 100 years, and after leaving the battlefield, she hadn't stopped at all. Her body naturally carried the aura of slaughter. With a single glance, it immediately sent a chill down Li's spine, causing him to stop in his tracks. His smile froze on his face, but quickly returned to normal as he cupped his hands and smiled. After 100 years, Miss Li is still as stunning as ever. Before he could finish, Li Qianmei passed him by without stopping, leaving Li frozen in place, swallowing his words. Not just him, even Zhao Long, who had been smiling beside him, found his smile freezing as well. This sudden turn of events made the surrounding cultivators look over in surprise, creating a stark contrast to the earlier astonishment. There was even a hint of mockery in their gazes. Li Qianmei didn't even spare Li a glance as she continued toward the Origin Reunion sect. When she neared, her gaze swept over the group, landing on Li Yanfei. Li Yanfei wiped away the blood from the corner of her mouth, as if wiping away the bitterness from her body, and looked toward Li Qianmei. Li Qianmei fell silent, biting her lip. After a long pause, she spoke softly, "Has he come?" As soon as these words were spoken, they clearly reached the ears of the surrounding cultivators, instantly causing an uproar. Clearly, everyone was speculating about the identity of this he. Even the members of the Wuji sect were no exception. Feng Hai's eyes flashed, and doubts in his heart slowly began to find answers. At this moment, the red-haired elder, leading more than a dozen Wuji sect cultivators, approached. Upon seeing this, surprise flickered in their eyes. Feng Hai exchanged glances with the elder, each with their own thoughts. Luohai also heard these words. With his composure, his expression changed slightly. Anyone who had witnessed what happened earlier would have difficulty remaining calm, and his face grew extremely ugly. However, there was a faint, ominous feeling creeping into his heart. Beside him, Zhao Long's expression changed in an instant. Unlike Luohai, his eyes shot like lightning, directly locking onto Lu Yunkong. As Lu Yunsong noticed, a cold smile appeared on his face, along with an unmistakable trace of mockery. Zhao Long's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he vaguely felt that the mysterious Lu family figure Lu Yunsong had mentioned earlier seemed far from as simple as he had thought. Lu Yanfei remained silent. After a long pause, she shook her head. Though she had never met Li Qianmei, she understood who he was from the words spoken. He hasn't come? Li Qianmei sighed lightly, raising her head to gaze at the sky. A trace of melancholy appeared on her face, her blue hair gently swaying in the wind, seeming to carry a sense of desolation. Not a word about him in 100 years, Lu Yanfei murmured softly. After speaking, she glanced at Li Qianmei. She hesitated for a moment, but did not continue. Li Qianmei bit her lower lip and shook her head gently. Then forget it. As she spoke, a cold light suddenly flashed in her eyes, and she turned to look at Lu Yanfei. In a soft, slow voice, she said, "You're injured? It's clear your injury was just sustained. Who did this?" Lu Yanfei's expression remained calm, and she responded indifferently. Earlier, Lu Yingjia, fellow Taoist Lu, mentioned the dissolution of the Origin Reunion sect and wanted me to become his cauldron, even threatening to battle with my ancestor. The person beside him, Zhao Long, a seventh-order cultivator from the Xun'er sect, found my voice unpleasant and deemed me unworthy of conversing with him, so he gave me a slight punishment. Upon hearing this, Lu Yingjia's face immediately changed, and he glared at Lu Yanfei, shouting, "Nonsense." In truth, his words were partly correct. He had not openly said that Lu Yanfei would become his cauldron, but deep inside, he did have such intentions. Zhao Long beside him also changed his expression, and cold light flashed in his eyes. Li Qianmei's expression grew serene as she turned to look at Zhao Long and Lu Yingjia. Lu Yingjia was about to explain, but Zhao Long quickly retreated, forming hand seals, and a divine aura surrounded him. But just as Zhao Long moved back, Li Qianmei suddenly made her move. Her speed was so fast that only afterimages remained. In an instant, she zipped through the crowd, her cultivation at the late Shattered Nirvana stage allowing her to appear behind Zhao Long. With a graceful wave of her jade hand, a terrifying wave of murderous energy erupted. The killing intent was immense, carrying thunderous roars of beastly howls, and it seemed to exude a strange, demonic aura. It turned into a mist that immediately enveloped Zhao Long. A scream rang out, and Zhao Long spat blood. His body was immediately flung backward, his left arm completely shattered, turning into blood and flesh, while his right hand and legs exploded. Soon after, his body completely collapsed. The stench of blood spread, and Zhao Long's essence spirit, panicked and fearful, fled rapidly into the distance. Li Qianmei calmly gazed at Wuji sect's Feng Hai and the red-haired elder, speaking in a gentle voice. If you two mind, I will give the Wuji sect an explanation. Then, she looked at Lu Yingjia and spoke softly. If you wish to fight him, I'll spare your life. If he does not come, I'll take your life and soul, as well as that of the Zhao family. Her words were simple, but her strike was sharp and overwhelming. The cultivators around who witnessed this scene couldn't help but gasp, their eyes filled with shock. The people from Wuji's sect reacted similarly. Feng Hai was silent, exchanging a glance with the red-haired elder. He coughed a few times before speaking. Fellow Taoist Li, may I ask who this he is? Lu Yanfei's ancestor from the Origin Reunion sect. Li Qianmei nodded gently and sighed as she looked up at the sky, lost in thought. Her ancestor said 100 years ago that he would come. Lu Yanfei no longer hesitated and softly spoke. At this moment, the person who had already captured the attention and speculation of Wuji's sect and the other cultivators was in the Wind Immortal realm, accompanied by nearly 5,000 crimson mosquito beasts and several hundred blue mosquito beasts, moving like a red cloud across the sky. In the vast expanse of the Wind Immortal realm, the wind howled, but its sound was barely audible under the shrill cries of the mosquito beasts. Among the swarm, a pale golden mosquito king let out an earth-shattering scream. Each time it screeched, all the surrounding mosquito beasts showed reverence, quickly gathering and flying toward the front. On the back of the mosquito king, Wang Lin, dressed in white, his white hair swaying in the wind, his eyes gleaming with intensity, stared into the depths of the Wind Immortal realm, his gaze gradually growing brighter. In recent days, his injuries had slightly healed, but compared to those wounds, the large number of mosquito beasts he had obtained had greatly enhanced his strength. I need to enter the Wind realm and gather enough mosquito beasts to fulfill my promise to the Origin Reunion sect. A sharp screech echoed from the pale golden mosquito king beneath Wang Lin, and with a thunderous roar, the red cloud formed by thousands of mosquito beasts immediately shifted direction, heading straight for the Wind Immortal realm, where the mosquito beasts were heavily gathered, rushing forward with a mighty roar.